Admiral Kate Morrison stared at the message on her screen for the third time. The words did not change. They still made no sense. She leaned back in her chair and rubbed her tired eyes. "Computer, replay the transmission," she said. The hologram flickered to life above her desk. A tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms appeared. Its voice was cold and formal. "By order of the Zephyrian Hegemony and the Galactic Federation Council, all human presence in 17 star systems must cease within 6 standard months. This includes the complete evacuation of all colonies, military installations, and civilian populations. Failure to comply will result in immediate military action." Kate hit the stop button. She had been an admiral for 12 years. She had fought pirates, rebels, and hostile aliens. But she had never received an order like this. Her door chimed. "Come in," she called. Dr. Ryan Bell walked into her office. He looked as confused as she felt. Ryan was Earth's top expert on alien politics. If anyone could explain this mess, it would be him. "Admiral, have you seen the Federation broadcast?" he asked. "I've seen it. I just don't understand it." Kate gestured to a chair. "Sit down and help me make sense of this madness." Ryan sat down heavily. He looked older than his 50 years. "The Zephyrians claim we violated some ancient territorial law. They say humans have expanded too far, too fast. That's ridiculous. Every colony we established was approved by the Federation. We followed every rule, filled out every form." Kate's voice grew angry. "We've been model citizens for 200 years. "I know. That's what makes this so strange." Ryan pulled out his datapad. "I've been digging through the Federation archives all night. The law they're citing was added to the Charter only 50 years ago. And get this, it has special exceptions for all 12 Zephyrian species." Kate felt a cold anger building in her chest. So this law was designed to control other species, not them. Exactly. And there's more. The 17 systems they want? Every single one has valuable resources, especially Haven. Kate knew about Haven. It was humanity's newest and most successful colony. 500,000 people live there now. They had built farms, cities, schools. Children had been born there who had never seen Earth. "What's so special about Haven?" she asked. Ryan's face grew grim. "Quantum crystals. The largest deposit ever discovered. Enough to revolutionize space travel for the next 1,000 years. Now it all made sense. This was not about territorial laws or human expansion. This was about greed. The Zephyrians wanted humanity's colonies, and they were using their political power to take them. Kate's communication system beeped. "Admiral, incoming priority message from Earth Command," her aide announced. "Put it through." General Rick Stone appeared on the screen. His face was stone-cold serious. "Kate, I assume you've seen the Zephyrian ultimatum." "Yes, sir." "It's obviously a land grab. They want our resources. That's our assessment, too. But the Federation Council voted to support their demand. 731 votes in favor, 116 against. We're almost completely alone." Kate felt sick. The Federation was supposed to protect all member species equally. Instead, they were helping the strong steal from the weak. "What are our orders, sir?" Stone was quiet for a long moment. "Officially, you are to begin immediate evacuation procedures for all 17 systems. Transport ships are being dispatched." Kate noticed how he said officially. "And unofficially?" "Unofficially, the President has a message for you." Stone leaned closer to the camera. "We didn't climb down from the trees and cross the stars just to roll over when bullies come calling." Kate understood. Earth was backing her, whatever she decided to do. After Stone signed off, Kate walked to her window. Outside, stars filled the black of space. Each point of light represented hope, dreams, human lives. In 17 of those systems, people were going about their daily lives, not knowing that powerful aliens had decided their homes no longer belonged to them. She thought about Captain Jake Murphy, who commanded the Marines on Haven. His wife had just given birth to their first child there. She thought about all the families, the farmers, the teachers, the children who thought of these worlds as home. Ryan cleared his throat. "Admiral, what are you going to do?" Kate turned from the window. Her decision was made. She sat down at her communication console and opened a channel to all human colonies and ships in the disputed systems. "This is Admiral Kate Morrison, commanding officer of the Third Fleet. By now you have all heard about the Zephyrian ultimatum. They demand that we abandon our homes, our lives, everything we have built among the stars." She paused, thinking of the right words. "I want you to know that Earth stands with you. I stand with you. We did not come this far to only come this far. We did not cross the darkness between stars to give up at the first sign of trouble." Her voice grew stronger, more determined. "Humanity does not back down. Not today. Not ever. We will not abandon our colonies. We will not abandon our people. We will not abandon our future among the stars." Kate looked directly into the camera. "To the Zephyrians and their allies, I say this. You picked the wrong species to threaten. Humans have been fighting bullies since we lived in caves. We're very good at it." She closed the channel and leaned back in her chair. There was no going back now. She had just declared war on the most powerful alliance in the galaxy. Ryan stared at her with wide eyes. "Kate, do you realize what you just did?" "Yes." She stood up and walked back to the window. "I just reminded the galaxy why they should never underestimate humans." Her aide's voice came over the intercom. "Admiral, we're receiving messages from all 17 systems. They're all asking the same question." "What's that?" "What are your orders, ma'am?" Kate smiled for the first time in hours. "Tell them to dig in. We're going to show these aliens what happens when you threaten human families." Outside her window, the stars seemed to burn a little brighter. Kate Morrison had just changed the course of galactic history with a simple decision. Humanity would not surrender. News of Admiral Morrison's broadcast spread across human space like wildfire. On Earth, people gathered around screens in bars, homes, and public squares. Some cheered, others worried. Everyone understood that everything had just changed. In the President's office, Helen Baker sat with her top advisors. The room was tense and quiet. Everyone knew they were making decisions that would affect billions of lives. "The Zephyrians are demanding Morrison's arrest," said Defense Secretary Collins. "They're calling her broadcast an act of war." "President." Baker looked tired but determined. "What's the status of our forces?" General Stone pulled up a holographic display. "We have the Third Fleet with Morrison, about 200 ships. The Second Fleet is 3 days away from the contested systems. The First Fleet is defending Earth and the core worlds." "That's not nearly enough to fight the entire Zephyrian hegemony," Collins said. "No," Baker agreed. "But it might be enough to make them think twice about attacking us." Meanwhile, on the colony world of Haven, Commander Amy Foster was turning her peaceful farming community into a fortress. Amy had been a military officer before becoming a colonial administrator. Now those old skills were saving lives. "How many underground shelters do we have?" she asked her deputy, Tom Miller. 43 major ones, plus hundreds of smaller family bunkers. The mining equipment made it easy to dig deep. Amy nodded. The quantum crystal mines had left Haven riddled with tunnels and caves. If the Zephyrians invaded, they would find that every human settlement was connected by hidden passages. Back on Morrison's flagship, Colonel Ben Hayes was working with engineer Sam Carter on new weapons. Ben was Kate's oldest friend and most trusted advisor. Sam was a genius who could build weapons from spare parts and determination. The quantum crystals from heaven are the key, Sam explained. If we can weaponize them, we'll have something the Zephyrians have never seen before. How long do you need? Ben asked. Give me 2 months, and I'll give you weapons that can punch holes in their biggest ships. 2 months. They might not have that long, but Ben would buy Sam every day he could. On Earth, Dr. Bell was making the discovery that would change everything. Hidden in the Federation archives, he found the real story behind the territorial law. The Zephyrians had not only written it themselves, they had specifically designed it to target humanity. Look at this, he told his research team. The law defines rapid expansion as claiming more than 5 new systems in a century. But humans are the only species that colonizes that fast. The Zephyrians take thousands of years to establish a single new world. It was worse than a land grab. It was a trap that had been set 50 years ago, waiting for the right moment to spring. Meanwhile, across the 17 contested systems, something amazing was happening. Instead of panic, there was determination. Instead of evacuation, there was preparation for war. On the agricultural world of New Terra, farmers were converting their harvesters into mobile weapons platforms. On the mining world of Iron Ridge, workers were using their industrial equipment to build massive defensive walls. On the research station at Kepler 442, scientists were turning their laboratories into weapons factories. Captain Jake Murphy was coordinating the defense of Haven with military precision. His Marines were training civilian volunteers in combat techniques. Everyone from teenagers to grandparents was learning to shoot, to hide, to fight. The Zephyrians think we're soft because we're farmers and miners, Jake told his men. They're about to learn that humans are dangerous no matter what job we do. The most important development was happening in secret. Earth was preparing something called the Defiance Protocol. Instead of evacuation ships, they were sending military supplies disguised as humanitarian aid. Instead of withdrawing support, they were reinforcing every contested world. General Stone coordinated the operation from Earth's military headquarters. Remember, this has to look like we're obeying the Federation order. Every supply drop needs to appear as evacuation support. Transport. Ships arrived at human colonies loaded with emergency rations that were actually ammunition. Medical supplies that were really weapons. Evacuation coordinators, who were actually special forces trainers. The Zephyrians were watching, but they saw what they expected to see. A weak species preparing to surrender their homes. They were wrong. On Morrison's flagship, reports were coming in from every contested system. The news was better than anyone had dared hope. Haven reports they can hold out for at least a year, Ben Hayes announced. New Terra has turned their entire agricultural system into a fortress network. Iron Ridge is literally building their cities underground. Morrison smiled grimly. What? About civilian morale? That's the best part. We're not getting requests for evacuation. We're getting requests for more weapons. The truth was that most humans in the contested systems had been born there. These were not Earth colonies anymore. They were home. And humans would fight to the death to defend their homes. Dr. Bell's research team made another crucial discovery. The territorial law the Zephyrians were using had never actually been tested in Federation courts. It existed on paper, but no one had ever tried to enforce it, which means we can challenge it legally while we prepare for war, Bell explained. To Morrison during a secure communication. How long would that take? Months, maybe years. Long enough for Sam to finish his weapons projects. Morrison made her decision. Do it. File the legal challenge. Make them prove their case in Federation court. The legal challenge caught the Zephyrians off guard. They had expected quick surrender or immediate war. Instead, humans were using Their own laws against them. Federation courts were slow and careful. Every species had the right to present evidence. Every claim had to be examined. The Zephyrians found themselves trapped in the very legal system they had used to dominate other species. While lawyers argued in Federation chambers, humans prepared for war in 17 star systems. Every day brought new defenses, new weapons, new determination. The 6-month deadline was approaching, but now it looked different. Instead of a countdown to surrender, it had become a countdown to the moment when the galaxy would see what humans were really capable of. Morrison stood on her ship's bridge, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, Zephyrian fleets were preparing to enforce their ultimatum. They expected to find empty human worlds, abandoned to their superior power. Instead, they would find something that had not existed in the galaxy for thousands of years, a species that simply refused to be bullied. "Admiral," her communications officer announced, "incoming message from Haven. Commander Foster says they're ready." Ready for what? Ready to show the Zephyrians that humans don't run from a fight. Morrison nodded. The trap was set. Now they just had to wait for the Zephyrians to walk into it. The 6-month deadline arrived on a Tuesday. Admiral Morrison sat in her command chair, watching the sensor displays. The Zephyrian scout ship appeared exactly on schedule, just outside the Kepler 442 system. Incoming transmission, her communications officer announced. The alien captain appeared on screen. Like all Zephyrians, he was tall and blue-skinned, with 4 arms and cold yellow eyes. "Human vessels, you will vacate this system immediately. You have violated Federation law." Morrison stood up slowly. "This is Admiral Kate Morrison of the Earth Fleet. You are in human space without permission. You have 10 minutes to leave." The alien captain's eyes widened in surprise. Clearly, he had expected immediate surrender. "You dare threaten a Zephyrian vessel? We represent the lawful authority of the Federation." 9 minutes and 30 seconds, Morrison replied calmly. The scout ship held its position. Morrison watched the countdown timer on her screen. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly at their stations. Everyone knew this moment would change everything. "Time," announced her tactical officer. "Fire," Morrison ordered. 3 human destroyers opened fire simultaneously. Sam Carter's new quantum torpedoes tore through space at incredible speed. The Zephyrian scout ship's shields flashed once, then failed completely. The ship simply ceased to exist. For a moment, the bridge was completely silent. Then Lieutenant Mike Ross, the youngest officer present, whispered what everyone was thinking. "We just fired on a Federation vessel." "No," Morrison corrected him. "We just defended our home." News of the scout ship's destruction reached the Zephyrian hegemony within hours. The reaction was immediate and furious. Emergency sessions were called. Ancient leaders who had not spoken publicly in centuries demanded action. High Commander Zethkar, the military leader of the hegemony, called for immediate retaliation. "These humans have committed an act of war against the lawful authority of the Federation. They must be crushed completely." Within days, Battle Fleet Terminus was assembled. 400 warships from 12 different Zephyrian worlds, representing thousands of years of military experience and technological advancement. It was the largest military force assembled in galactic history. The fleet's commander, Admiral Vexthal, addressed his officers before departure. "We go to teach the galaxy a lesson. No junior species may defy the natural order. These humans will serve as an example for 1,000 years." But as Battle Fleet Terminus jumped into human space, they found something no Zephyrian strategic planner had anticipated. The humans had not fled. They had not surrendered. They had prepared for war. Every asteroid in the contested systems had been converted into a weapons platform. Every moon hosted missile batteries. Every piece of space debris hid sensors and communication relays. The humans had turned empty space itself into a fortress. Captain Joe Barnes led the first human fighter squadron to make contact with the enemy. His 12 fighters faced a Zephyrian task force of 80 ships. The odds were impossible, but Joe had trained for this moment his entire life. "Remember," he told his pilots over the radio, "we're not trying to win a fair fight. We're trying to hurt them so badly they'll think twice about coming back." The fighters attacked using tactics no Zephyrian had ever seen. Instead of engaging in direct combat, they struck fast and disappeared. They used the asteroid fields as cover. They attacked from multiple directions simultaneously. They targeted the enemy's sensors and communication systems. Within 2 hours, 63 Zephyrian ships had been destroyed or disabled. Joe's fighters had lost only 3 pilots. The survivors retreated to prepared positions deeper in the system. On Haven, Sergeant Tony Chun prepared his ground forces for the inevitable invasion attempt. The planet's surface looked peaceful and undefended. It was an illusion. Every building, every hill, every tree line concealed weapons and soldiers. "They'll expect us to fight like their other enemies," Tony told his troops. "Stand in lines, shoot until we die, then surrender." That's not how humans fight. The first Zephyrian landing. Ships approached Haven's surface 2 days later. They had selected what appeared to be an open plain for their landing zone. As their ships touched down, the ground itself exploded. Commander Amy Foster had prepared every possible landing site with hidden explosives. The Zephyrian Marines found themselves trapped in pre-targeted kill zones. Human soldiers emerged from concealed bunkers and attacked from all directions. The aliens were stronger and had better weapons, but they had never faced anything like human tactics. Every building was a trap. Every street was an ambush site. Every civilian they encountered might be a hidden soldier. The Zephyrian ground commander sent a desperate message to his fleet. The humans fight like demons. They appear from nowhere, strike without warning, then vanish. We cannot secure any position. Back in space, Admiral Vexthal was facing his own problems. His massive fleet was being torn apart by an enemy that refused to fight a conventional battle. Human ships appeared from asteroid fields, fired devastating volleys, then disappeared before return fire could reach them. Dr. Maria Santos had perfected the quantum cascade weapons just in time. These new bombs could tear holes in space-time itself. Zephyrian energy shields, which had protected them for millennia, were useless against weapons that attacked reality itself. The first cascade bomb was deployed against a Zephyrian battlecruiser. The explosion was unlike anything ever seen in space warfare. The enemy ship simply folded in on itself and disappeared, taking a chunk of space-time with it. Admiral Morrison coordinated the defense from her flagship, but she was not content to simply command from safety. When the enemy made a concentrated push toward Haven, she led a boarding party against their command ship personally. Human Marines, equipped with quantum-enhanced armor and weapons, fought their way through corridors designed for beings twice their size. The Zephyrians had never experienced boarding actions before. Their ships were not designed to repel internal attacks. Morrison's assault team reached the enemy bridge after 6 hours of corridor-to-corridor fighting. The Zephyrian captain, wounded and surrounded, looked at her with something like respect. "How?" he asked simply. "Because we're protecting our homes," Morrison replied. "And humans will do anything to protect their families." The psychological impact was enormous. For the first time in their recorded history, a Zephyrian command ship had been captured by boarders. Word spread throughout their fleet. The humans were not just defending, they were attacking. Admiral Turner arrived with the Second Fleet just as the Zephyrians were regrouping for a final assault. 60 more human ships, fresh and ready for battle. emerged from hyperspace to reinforce the defense. The Zephyrians now faced a choice they had never expected to make. They could continue the attack and suffer even greater losses, or they could retreat and admit that a junior species had defeated them. High Commander Zethkar, monitoring the battle from the hegemony capital, watched his reports with growing disbelief. Battle Fleet Terminus, the pride of Zephyrian military power, was being systematically destroyed by farmers, miners, and colonists. "This is impossible," he told his advisors. "How can a species that has been in space for only 2 centuries defeat our finest warriors?" His chief strategist, an ancient being who had planned conquests for over 1,000 years, gave a simple answer. "Because they are not fighting for conquest, Commander. They are fighting for survival. And there is no more dangerous enemy than one who fights for his home." The Battle of Haven's Gate was approaching its climax. Both sides had committed their full strength. The next few hours would determine whether humanity remained free among the stars, or became a cautionary tale about the price of defying ancient powers. But already, word was spreading throughout the galaxy. On 1,000 worlds, species that had suffered under Zephyrian dominance watched the battle reports with growing hope. For the first time in millennia, someone was fighting back and winning. The Battle of Haven's Gate began at 0347 ship time on a Wednesday morning. 800 ships filled the space around the colony world, more than had ever fought in a single engagement in galactic history. Admiral Morrison stood on her bridge, watching the tactical display. Every human ship was represented by a blue dot. The Zephyrian forces showed as red. There were twice as many red dots as blue ones. "All ships report ready for battle," announced Commander Sarah Price, her intelligence officer. Morrison opened a fleet-wide channel. "This is Admiral Morrison to all human forces. Today we fight not just for Haven, not just for our 17 colonies, but for the right of every species in the galaxy to defend their homes." She paused, thinking of her words carefully. "The Zephyrians think we are weak because we are young. They think we are soft because we value peace. Today, we show them that peaceful people can be the most dangerous enemies of all, because we know exactly what we are fighting for." The Zephyrian fleet moved in perfect formation, just as they had for thousands of years. Admiral Vexthul commanded from his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, a massive vessel that was itself larger than most human fleets. "Deploy the fleet in attack formation Beta 7, he ordered. "We will crush these humans with overwhelming force. Then parade their survivors before the Federation Council as an example." But the humans did not deploy in any formation the Zephyrians recognized. Instead, they scattered across the system like leaves in the wind. Some hid behind asteroids. Others used Haven's moons as cover. A few brave ships actually dove into the planet's atmosphere, using the dense air as protection against energy weapons. Commander Price's intelligence network had discovered the Zephyrians' greatest weakness. Their entire fleet relied on a single communication system aboard the Eternal Dominion. If that ship was destroyed, the rest of the fleet would lose coordination. "The problem is getting through their defenses," Price explained to Morrison. "The flagship is protected by 50 escort vessels and 3 layers of shields. It's like trying to punch through a mountain." Lieutenant Mike Ross, the youngest pilot in the fleet, raised his hand. "Admiral, what if we don't go through the defenses? What if we go around them?" Morrison looked at the tactical display. Ross was suggesting something that seemed impossible. "Explain." "The quantum cascade bombs create holes in space-time, right? What if we detonate one behind their defensive line? We could jump through the hole before it closes." It was insane. It was dangerous. It was probably impossible. Morrison loved it. "How many ships would you need?" "Just 12 fighters, ma'am." small and fast enough to make it through before the hull collapses. Morrison nodded. Do it. While Ross prepared his suicide mission, the main battle began. Human ships struck from all directions at once. The Zephyrians found themselves fighting dozens of separate engagements instead of one coordinated battle. Captain Donna Wright led a squadron of converted mining ships against a Zephyrian battle group. Her vessels looked harmless compared to the sleek alien warships, but Sam Carter's modifications had given them incredible firepower. Target their shield generators, she ordered. These quantum torpedoes don't care how pretty their ships are. The mining ships, built to survive asteroid impacts and solar storms, proved incredibly tough. Zephyrian energy weapons designed to fight similar enemies had little effect on the crude but effective human armor. On Haven's surface, the ground battle raged through the colonial capital. Sergeant Tony Chun's Marines fought a running battle through streets they had grown up on. Every corner, every building, every playground was a battlefield. The Zephyrians had superior weapons and armor, but they were fighting on human terms now. Urban warfare was something humans had perfected over centuries of conflict on Earth. The aliens found themselves outmaneuvered and outfought by an enemy that seemed to be everywhere at once. They know this terrain like we know our own ships, reported a Zephyrian ground commander. We cannot secure any position. Every advance costs us dearly. In the medical stations scattered throughout the fleet, Dr. Paul Kim worked frantically to save both human and alien lives. The quantum weapons created wounds unlike anything in medical textbooks. Kim had to improvise treatments using whatever was available. A cascade explosions disrupt cellular structure at the quantum level, he explained to his assistants. We need to stabilize the patient's biofield before we can treat the physical damage. His innovations, born from desperate necessity, would later revolutionize medicine throughout the galaxy. But right now, he was just trying to keep people alive. The turning point came when Ross's strike force reached the hole torn in space-time by their cascade bomb. 12 human fighters dove through the impossible opening. Emerging behind the Zephyrian defensive line, they had perhaps 30 seconds before the enemy realized what had happened. Ross used every second. Target the communication arrays on the flagship, he ordered. If we can blind them, the whole fleet goes chaotic. The quantum-enhanced fighters tore through the Eternal Dominion's rear defenses like bullets through paper. Ross's wingmate, Lieutenant Carol White, scored a direct hit on the primary communication array. Instantly, the coordinated Zephyrian attack dissolved into confusion. Individual ships, cut off from their command structure, began making independent decisions. Some tried to retreat. Others continued attacking. Most simply held their positions, waiting for orders that would never come. Morrison saw the opportunity immediately. All ships, concentrate fire on the flagship. We end this now. The human fleet, scattered across the system, began converging on the Eternal Dominion. The massive ship's escorts tried to protect it, but they were overwhelmed by attacks from every direction. Admiral Vexthil, trapped on his dying ship, sent a final message to his home world. The humans fight like nothing we have ever faced. They are not warriors in any sense we understand. They are something far more dangerous. They are a people defending their children. The Eternal Dominion exploded in a cascade of quantum fire. The blast was visible from Haven's surface. A new star that burned for 17 minutes before fading away. With their flagship destroyed and their communications severed, the Zephyrian fleet began to fall apart. Some ships tried to surrender, broadcasting ceasefire requests in broken human languages. Others attempted to flee, only to find that human ships were faster and more maneuverable than anyone had believed possible. The battle lasted 72 hours. When it was over, Battlefleet Terminus existed only in history books. Of the 4 100 ships that had entered human space. Fewer than 100 limped away, damaged and defeated, but the real victory was not counted in destroyed ships. As news of the battle spread across the galaxy, 17 species announced their withdrawal from Zephyrian protection pacts. The ancient order that had ruled the stars for millennia was crumbling. On Haven, Commander Foster walked through the colonial capital, surveying the damage. Buildings were destroyed, streets were cratered, but the city still stood. More importantly, the people still lived. A young girl, maybe 8 years old, approached Foster. "Commander, are the bad aliens gone?" Foster knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, sweetheart, they're gone. And they won't be coming back. How do you know?" Foster smiled, thinking of Admiral Morrison and all the brave humans who had fought to protect their homes. "Because we taught them something today. We taught them that when you threaten human families, you get more than you bargained for." Back on Morrison's flagship, reports were coming in from across human space. Every colony, every outpost, every human settlement in the contested systems had held out. The Zephyrians had failed completely, but Morrison knew the real battle was just beginning. The galaxy had seen that ancient powers could be defeated. Now they would see what humanity intended to do with that knowledge. The stars themselves seemed different now, as if they burned with new possibilities. Humanity had not just survived their first galactic war. They had won it decisively, and in doing so, had changed the balance of power in the galaxy forever. 3 months after the Battle of Haven's Gate, President Helen Baker stood before the largest gathering in Earth's history. Representatives from 47 different species had come to hear what humanity planned to do with their unexpected victory. The Federation Council was in chaos. Half the member species were demanding investigations into Zephyrian corruption. The other half were trying to distance themselves from the failed invasion. Everyone wanted to know what the humans would do next. Baker looked out at the crowd of aliens, reporters, and diplomats. Her words would shape galactic politics for generations to come. 3 months ago, the Zephyrian hegemony told us to abandon our homes or face destruction. They believed that because we were young, we were weak. Because we preferred peace, we could not fight. They were wrong. The crowd was completely silent. Everyone knew they were witnessing history. But humanity did not fight this war for conquest or revenge. We fought for a simple principle. Every species has the right to defend their homes and their families. Today, we announced the formation of the Liberty Coalition, founded on that principle. Ambassador John Clark, Earth's new representative to the galactic community, presented the coalition charter to the assembled delegates. The document had been written by the best legal minds from 12 different species. The coalition operates on 3 basic rules, Clark explained. First, no species may claim territory occupied by another without clear evidence of prior ownership. Second, technological advantages cannot be used to enforce political dominance over other species. Third, all members have the right to mutual defense against any threat. The charter was revolutionary. For the first time in galactic history, a major alliance was being founded on equality rather than dominance. Dr. Nick Gray, Earth's new director of technology sharing, announced the most surprising decision of all. Every innovation humanity had developed during the war would be freely shared with any species that joined the coalition. Quantum cascade technology, enhanced medical techniques, improved defensive systems, Gray listed, all available to any species committed to mutual defense and democratic cooperation. The Zephyrians attempted one final gambit. High Commander Zeth Kar threatened to withdraw all Zephyrian technology from galactic civilization unless the coalition was disbanded. The response came not from Earth, but from 17 different species simultaneously. The Altarians, Centauri Republic, Vegan Commonwealth, and 14 others announced their immediate withdrawal from all Zephyrian agreements Within 6 months, the mighty hegemony had fractured. 3 Zephyrian worlds actually petitioned to join the coalition, attracted by the promise of equality and mutual respect. General Lisa Park oversaw the transformation of human military doctrine. The Colonial Defense Force became the Coalition Peacekeeping Service, with ships and personnel from dozens of species working together. "We learned something important during the war," Park explained to her new multi-species officer course. "The best defense is not the biggest guns or the strongest shields. It's the certainty that if you attack one of us, you attack all of us." The new doctrine proved incredibly effective. When the Rigelian Empire attempted to conquer the small Procyon systems, they found themselves facing not just local defense forces, but coalition fleets from 6 different species. The Rigelians retreated after losing half their invasion fleet in the first engagement. They had expected to fight desperate colonists. Instead, they faced coordinated resistance from species that had never even met before the coalition was formed. 5 years after Admiral Morrison's defiant broadcast, the galaxy was unrecognizable. The Federation still existed, but it operated under new rules based on the Coalition Charter. The ancient hierarchy of elder and junior species had been replaced by genuine democratic cooperation. Admiral Morrison, now Grand Admiral of Coalition. Forces stood on the observation deck of humanity's newest flagship, the Defiance. Outside, construction crews from 16 different species were building the first Coalition shipyard in the Haven system. Dr. Bell, now Director of Interspecies Relations, joined her at the Jew.